Okay guys, so here we go. We're gonna go put some rub trees in today so we can show you guys how to do it. We're gonna try to answer the main questions that we've been getting asked. The who, meaning us, the what we're doing, as in what kind of trees, what kind of scents, and the when, which is what time of year that we put these trees out, where we're locating them and why, because I'm just gonna tell you that there's a multitude of things. So let's answer the when first, because that can matter. And what we tell everyone is you want to get them in right as the deer come out of velvet, or even before they come out of velvet, but not way far in advance. You don't want the tree to sit there for months, but you can put it in right before or right after they come out of velvet. Don't expect them to really start hitting it until after they come out of velvet. We've had a tree in and had them come to it prior to them coming out of velvet, but they didn't rub on it. They just sniffed on the tree and stuff. So that would be when. Where, we're going to show you food plots, in the timber, close to trails or stand always near stand locations, or blind locations, a place where you can shoot to these rub trees, because your deer will be standing there at some point. And then we're going to talk about how we do it. We're going to show you how we put these trees in, how we mark them up, what kind of scents, what we're putting on, when, why, how much. We're going to show you everything we can. So that's what we're getting ready to do. So follow us as we go put in some rub trees. First thing we're going to do is Easton's going to dig the hole, because I'm going to make him, and I'm going to climb up in the tree and make sure that I can shoot to this rub tree. So that's the very first thing, is before you drop a rub tree in, you need to make sure that you can shoot to that tree. The whole goal is to shoot the animal at the tree. So make sure you put the tree in thinking about which way they might be rubbing the tree, so you get a good angle as well. We'll show you that here in a minute too. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go climb up in that tree stand. Good?
Alright, so now that we've cut down the entire forest to make sure that you have a good shooting lane, it is now time to dig your hole. Just make sure it's big enough for your whatever your limb is that you've used to put in the ground. We'll tell you guys about that here in a minute, because we did not film cutting limbs, but we can tell you guys all about them here in a minute. So I'm going to dig a hole. This is a super easy one-man manual auger that makes life very easy compared to post hole diggers. Want to go about 2 feet. Depending on where you're at, we have Iowa deer, big bodied deer, and they like to just sometimes lean on the freaking post. So the deeper you go, the better.
You got an easy one to dig. That's money. That's what I call the tree that I know is going to bring the big bucks in. The money tree. This is a white pine, and when we talk about putting trees in, it's a limb. We're cutting a limb off of a tree. We're not actually putting a whole tree in. So we find these trees. They're not easy to find, especially like in Iowa. They don't grow native, so we talk to people that have trees in their yard, or some of them I've gotten from parks, get permission, and they let you go in and trim a few limbs, and then you have a limb to use as a rub tree. But that's how we get all of ours. So you guys can, I'm sure, do the same thing across the nation. And then there are places back east and south where the white pine grows naturally, and you could, as long as you have permission, I think you can go cut limbs off of them. All right, how deep are you?
Over 2 feet.
Okay, so he says he's over 2 feet, which,
according to your mark.
Yeah.
You're 22 inches. You want 18 to 24. Right in the middle.
No, you want 24 inches. I'm telling you right now. But here's the thing. The bigger your tree is around, the less you got to go as deep. If you use a smaller tree than this, then you need to be way deeper, because they get more leverage on that, and they'll pull them out of the ground. They'll push them out of the ground. This one should work. Just drop her in like that. Now, I'm looking at the curve of this tree, and I'm trying to decide, how do I think these deer might rub this tree? And I honestly think they're going to probably rub on the inside of that curve. So my tree stands over there. I want them standing broadside like that right there. So I want them rubbing on this side. If they come around on this side, I can shoot them as well. If you have a big knot or something sticking out of your tree that you think would get in the way of a deer rubbing a tree, face that where you don't want to get a shot. Makes sense? So that way they're like it straight on would not be a good shot. So if I had a big limb coming off here, I would point that way. All right. And then we got a shovel in here that we'll use to tamp the ground around it. The other thing that you can do is put concrete. I usually do, we just don't have it with us today, but I take Quikrete concrete, just the bag stuff, and I mix it up in a 5-gallon bucket with water and make it plenty wet so you can pour it in and it runs all around, and then throw the dirt right on there. You don't have to wait on it to dry or anything like that. And then just pour that in there, put your dirt back in there and tamp it really, really good. That will harden around the tree and help keep your tree in place, because when you get a 300-pound animal, you know, wreaking havoc on your tree, they can get them out of the ground often. So we're gonna
warning, you won't need to use a whole bag of Quikrete.
No.
Don't go mixing the whole thing.
Like
half.
quarter to a half a bag is all it takes. All right.
About 3 minutes of digging, 77 minutes to set up. You could streamline if you need to, but we are done. Dig a hole, put a tree in, shoot a deer.
Well, we're not done yet.
She's in the ground. But now he's gonna show you how to put scents on it.
Okay, like I said, we're going to try to answer every question possible. So before I put scent on this tree, here's the next question that we get from everyone. Should I put a licking branch on there and have that sticking off of there? You can. I'm not telling you you can't. I don't do it. And the reason I don't do it is because I found no benefit to it. I don't think that more deer hit this tree because there's a limb attached to it. I don't care whether you drill, I've drilled holes and put it through there, and what they end up doing is just ripping it off, breaking it, and I get just as many deer come into the tree by itself as adding a licking branch. So we don't add licking branches. If this tree went up here and there was a natural branch here, I'd leave it on there, and then this is where I would spray Scrape King. That's the pre-orbital scent that we sell, and I would use the spray and spray this limb up here. And what I'm getting ready to show you is what we put on the tree, and we specifically put buck junkie on the tree. That is our forehead and salivary glands. Okay, so limb is optional if you want it, but it's not a necessity. It's not gonna make this tree work any better.
I will argue his point on that, because I have done them enough that they pick one or the other, so you do have a negative side to it. I have them use the scrape 10 times more, or they'll use the rub 10 times more. So no, they're not gonna just not use it because you have the limb on there. But just know, I've had them just pick the scrape before, and I don't want them using the scrape. They're a lot more consistent on a rub post, so I want them using the rub post, not it as a scrape.
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't use it, but typically they use it so well that they tear it off, and then it doesn't last a week. So anyhow, all right. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna scar up this tree to kind of make it look like a rub, but so that you guys understand, we're not doing this for the visual as much as this is gonna get us into the bark so that when we apply the scent, it gets into the tree. And so therefore it's gonna stay. That's again why we're using a white pine or a Scotch pine, because they're very sappy, and so the scent stays well. So there's a knot right here. I'll probably cut that knot right off. I'll just take the knife and do like that. And then what I'm gonna do is you can take the knife and either push down like so and just kind of scrape it, or you can get a little deeper. I want to get to the white part of the tree. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's not super fancy or anything like that. And people ask all the time, do you got to wear gloves? I'm wearing gloves because I don't want the sap on my hand. And I do try not to touch the tree with my bare hands where I'm going to put the scent. But touching the top of the tree, digging around all this, you're leaving human scent. Don't worry about it. It'll work its way out, and this scent will be left on the tree. So this is our buck junkie oil. And so obviously it comes in an oil, like where I squirt it, it'll run down like that. So I'm going to put a few drops on all the way around the tree, and then I'm going to work it in with my knife. And I might throw a little bit up there just to get the scent out there. But that's all I'm doing. Got some on my finger, on my glove. And then I'm gonna take my knife and I'm just gonna do like this. Smear it into the tree.
This might be one of the first rub posts that me and Dad have put in physically together. And so I will tell you, by watching this, watching what he's doing, if you guys have heard our podcast or anything, I've talked about how when me and him will go put our rub posts in at the same time of year, same type of tree, same way we put them in and everything, and mine will be a week or two behind his when they start hitting my rub posts, and they're not that far apart. This is a theory. I don't know if this is what it is or not. I never rub the oil into the tree. Once I scrape it open and everything, I drip the oil on there. So for whatever reason, if that helps that much, that would be the only difference between me and him. His will start working within like days more times than not. Mine are normally a week or two behind, and I don't rub the oil in. So that could be a point. Rub the oil in at the end of it, or scrape it in like he's talking with the saw or something, so it soaks better into the wood.
Okay, and then the other thing you could do, if you didn't have the oil, you can use the paste. You just do the same thing, just apply the paste. It's the same scent, it's just in two different formats. So don't worry about it. If you've got the paste, you can use the paste as well. And then the last thing that I would do is maybe spray, if I have a limb, or I might even spray the top of this with a little bit of Scrape King, the pre-orbital, or Scrape Addict. You could put some of that on there. That's a multitude of different glands, just to kind of get the scent out there right away. Or you could turn, if you got trees close by, spray some of those the leaves above that, right next to your rub tree. That's it. This rub tree's ready. We got a camera on it. We'll make sure the camera's facing the tree, and then we'll be able to show you guys video when this tree starts getting hit. We are here. We're going to put in another rub tree for you guys, trying to answer as many questions as we can about the rub trees. Another question that we get a lot is, can you use the same rub tree year after year? The answer is no. What'll end up happening is, as you can see, here's an old rub, and this is the other broken part of it, and it dries out real bad. And once it gets real dry like that, you just can't get the scent to stick to it. Now I can cut into it like that right there and get down to some fresh wood, but it's just too dry and too brittle, then it'll break. The other thing that I want to show you is, this is too small a tree. It's the only one I had last year. I don't like trees this small. I'll show you the size that we're putting in. We like something that's a little meatier, because especially on these Iowa deer, they can be over 300 pounds live weight, and we don't want them breaking our trees or bending them over. So we try to use as heavy a tree as we can get. But even though you can't use the same tree, I have no problem with putting a tree right back in the same location. So I'm gonna dig a hole right next to this one and put this tree in there. Then we're gonna show you, we're trying something new with this tree too. So we'll come along, we'll show you as we go here. All right. So I've heard a lot of people talk about horizontal rub posts. I've never done them. And the only reason is we're having such good luck with our vertical posts that I don't see a reason. It seems like a horizontal would be a lot more work to put in, because I got to dig 2 holes basically for that. This way I just put 1 in. However, if you'll notice, this limb has a big bend in it. We're going to drop this in there and see if these deer will actually work the bottom of this limb. Now when I drop this in 2 feet, that's not going to be very high off the ground. I'm a little worried because I don't have concrete to put in there to hold this in. And I'm afraid they're going to get leverage on this and lift it out. But the only way to find out is to test it. So we're going to dig at least 2-foot hole and drop this in there. And we're going to put a rub tree in that is a vertical and a horizontal. So we've got our hole dug. If you look back behind me, you can see the stand that we're looking at here. Now, again, I want to point out a couple things. One is, always have your stand location or blind location to be able to shoot your rub tree picked out before you put it in there. Don't put it in, then realize, oh, I got deer coming to this thing, but I can't shoot it. You want to have the stand location already picked. Another edge that this is going to, and I'll have him turn the camera around here, is I like the edges of food plots. Food plots work really good for drawing deer in. Problem is, sometimes you can't get them to pinpoint right where you want them to be so you can get a shot. take the food plot, put a rub tree in on the edge of the food plot, wherever you want them to stand, and that's where they'll be, and that's where your shot will be. So that's what we're doing here. We're on the edge of this food plot. So, all right, but I'm gonna drop this in, and again, we were showing you that this is a little different tree for us. This is gonna be a vertical and a horizontal rub post. All right, so which way do I want to point the horizontal is going to be critical to be able to shoot from over there. And I think that we're going to want it, if he's rubbing the tree here, or if he comes here, I wonder if they're going to do it from the side at all, or if they'll get directly underneath it. So I'm going to put it at like a, I think I'm going to 45 it this way. Kind of cheat like that right there. All right, so if I can hold it like that right there, that puts it so that if they come around on this side of the tree, I should be able to get a good, clear, perfectly broadside or quartered away shot at them. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we got this tree in here. Now, last thing we got to do is scar it up and throw some scents on it to get it started. And the scents we're going to use is going to be the buck junkie oil. And I've actually got some buck junkie paste. I'm going to put a little bit of that on there as well, just to show you guys you can use either. And this is Scrape King, and I'm going to spray it way out here on the limbs. That's a pre-orbital, where the buck junkie is a forehead and salivary. And I don't just put it on the rub, I'll put some on the tree itself. But once I get a little bit on there, then I'm going to rub it in. I don't use my hands to rub it in, I'll use the knife. Or a saw, whichever one you're using. Work that in there pretty good. And then, like I said, I was going to show you guys, you can use paste. And I just take my knife like that and rub it in there like that. Just like that. That way you're not touching anything. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to do on this one, and again, you guys can kind of mess with this yourself. You don't have to do it like we do. It just seems to have worked pretty well. This is Scrape King. Put a few sprays like that, and I'm going to set a camera and get out of here. Okay guys, so that's all there is to it to put these rub trees in. But I am telling you, I'll stake my career on it. They will change the way you hunt. You start putting in rub trees and you start putting our scents on them, start putting the buck junkie on there, forehead and salivary, it will change what you do. Because you will, for the first time, be able to put a buck right where you want him without the use of a great big corn pile or corn feed. There's no food involved in this, and you're able to pinpoint these deer and get them right where you want. So if you're looking for a way to do that, try a rub tree and raise scents. And a tree stand in the back and a trail camera. And then you're set.